Now that you found us, subscribe and turn on notifications by clicking the bell. No need to miss out on any upcoming episodes. Welcome back, everyone, to a very special deep dive. This is episode 19 of our YouTube series, and we are calling this one Mathematical Abundance, the Singularity's most powerful accelerant.
It is a big one today.
It really is. If you are one of the many fans of Dr. Alex Wissner-Gross, especially from his incredible contributions to Peter Diamandis' Moonshot series, you are exactly in the right place today. Our mission is to completely unpack the March 3, 2026 edition of Dr. Wissner-Gross's Substack, The Innermost Loop.
And this dispatch, it covers so much ground.
Yeah, we are looking at a world right now where the demand for intelligence is completely outstripping supply. We're talking about global power grids being fundamentally rewritten and the very boundaries of human mathematics being pushed. And not by humans, but by autonomous systems acting entirely on their own.
Setting the tone for all of this, the core theme of today's deep dive really comes down to a single driving force, and that is competition. What we're seeing in this specific dispatch is that competition has become the ultimate accelerant of the singularity. It's no longer just a theoretical forecast or a bullet point on a futurist's whiteboard somewhere.
It's happening right now.
Exactly. We're going to connect the dots for you today across geopolitics, silicon supply chains, and even biological source code. The goal here is to show you just how rapidly this phase shift is occurring across industries that, on the surface at least, seem completely disconnected.
Everything is accelerating.
Everything is accelerating, and as you'll see, it is all colliding.
So let's start with what feels like a literal collision, which is the AI arms race, cloud warfare, and the changing economics of defense.
Yeah, the defense sector is wild right now.
It's incredibly messy. The corporate scramble for Pentagon contracts right now is getting so intense, and the lines between consumer tech and military infrastructure are just blurring faster than anyone predicted.
Faster than the companies themselves predicted, honestly.
For sure. According to the breakdown in the newsletter, OpenAI actually rushed to forge a Pentagon deal right after their rival, Anthropic, was blacklisted.
Which is such a fascinating sequence of events.
Right, and this wasn't some smooth, meticulously planned, behind-the-scenes maneuver. Sam Altman himself admitted that this move looked opportunistic and sloppy.
Opportunistic and sloppy, his exact words.
And the consumer reaction was immediate, and it was intense. Users mass canceled ChatGPT.
Just a massive exodus.
Yeah, which then prompted OpenAI to suddenly scramble and add Fourth Amendment safeguards to protect user data from unwarranted government searches.
The sheer irony of how this all unfolded is what really stands out to me. Let's look at Anthropic, the company that was supposedly blacklisted for being too cautious.
The cautious ones, right.
Right behind the scenes, they had actually pitched the Pentagon on a $100 million drone swarm contest.
$100 million for drone swarms.
Yeah. Their proposal was to use their AI model, Claude, to coordinate massive fleets of drones in real time. Now, they explicitly drew a line at autonomous targeting.
Meaning keeping a human in the loop for lethal decisions.
Exactly. They insisted on keeping a human in the loop for any lethal decisions, but they still made a very aggressive pitch for military coordination.
Right.
Ultimately, they weren't selected, but it completely shatters this illusion of the purely pacifist AI lab.
Right. It's not just a clean narrative of good tech company versus the military-industrial complex. But let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Is this just naked corporate greed, or is there a genuine ideological struggle happening inside these companies? Because you have employees who join to build helpful chatbots, and suddenly they're realizing their code might be routing drone swarms.
It's an agonizing tension for these organizations. On one hand, they have consumer privacy expectations and their own highly publicized ethical charters. They want your trust as a user.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have incredibly lucrative defense contracts that can fund the next generation of their models. Training these AI systems costs billions of dollars now.
And the Pentagon has billions of dollars.
Exactly. The math is inevitable. We aren't taking sides on the ethics of military AI here, but objectively, watching these major AI companies awkwardly navigate this tension is like watching a tightrope walker trying to juggle anvils.
Juggling anvils, I like that.
They are trying to be everything to everyone, and the market is punishing them for the whiplash.
And the market punishment is one thing, but the battlefield isn't just about software contracts and PR crises anymore. It's getting shockingly physical.
Highly physical.
There is a startling milestone from the dispatch that really caught my eye. Two Amazon Web Services data centers in the UAE and one in Bahrain were actually hit by drones amid Iranian strikes.
The significance of those drone strikes cannot be overstated.
Tell me about it because I think people miss this.
For you listening, think about how we usually conceptualize the cloud. For decades, it's been this abstract, almost ethereal concept. Your photos, your company's financial data, your messaging apps, they just live up there somewhere.
Right, in the ether.
But the cloud is intensely physical. It relies on massive, power-hungry, football field-sized buildings filled with servers sitting in real-world geopolitical hotspots.
Exactly. It's concrete, it's steel, it's fiber optic cables. It's not a fluffy white thing in the sky. It's a very loud, very hot warehouse.
Precisely. And this marks the very first time that direct military action has disrupted a major cloud provider.
That is wild.
It violently exposes the fragility of our global digital infrastructure. When the servers that run global commerce, communications, and intelligence can be targeted by a physical drone, the nature of infrastructure security changes overnight.
Yeah, because we spent the last 20 years worrying about cyber attacks, right? Hackers infiltrating network.
Exactly. Now, the threat isn't just a malicious line of code. It's a piece of kinetic hardware flying into the cooling system of an AWS server farm.
Which brings us to how nations are actually defending against these kinetic threats, and here's where the economics of warfare are just flipping upside down.
The math completely changes.
Completely. The dispatch highlights a mind-blowing economic statistic out of Israel. For the first time, Israel deployed their iron beam lasers in actual combat.
Directed energy weapons.
Right. They use these directed energy weapons to intercept Hezbollah rockets. And the cost. Just $4 per shot.
Unbelievable.
Let me repeat that for everyone. $4. Let's contrast that with what they normally use, which is the Iron Dome. A single Iron Dome interceptor missile costs around $50,000.
Yeah.
Going from 50 grand down to the price of a cup of premium coffee to vaporize a rocket, that is staggering.
It really is. And this brings us to a fundamental shift in the concept of asymmetrical warfare. Historically, the offense usually has the massive economic advantage.
How so?
Well, think about it. A militant group can weld together a crude rocket using a few $100s worth of industrial materials. To shoot it down, a highly developed nation has to fire a precision-guided supersonic interceptor packed with advanced sensors that costs $50,000.
Right. So the math is always against the defender.
Exactly. The strategy for the offense isn't necessarily to destroy the target. It's to bankrupt the defender through pure attrition. You just keep firing cheap rockets until the enemy runs out of expensive missiles or the money to buy them.
It's a terrifying math equation if you're the one playing defense.
But the Iron Beam completely inverts that equation. When defense, in this case, firing a concentrated beam of light, becomes exponentially cheaper than the offense, the global power dynamics fundamentally change.
Because they can't bankrupt you anymore.
Exactly. If you can defend your airspace for $4 a shot, you essentially outrun the enemy's ability to bankrupt you. The only constraint is how much electricity you can generate to power the lasers.
Defense is suddenly outrunning offense.
Entirely driven by these radical technological cost curves.
You literally just outmath their budget. And speaking of outmathing things, that same industrial scale logic isn't just defending airspace. It's currently rewriting the laws of physics and geometry as we know them.
Yes.
This leads us right into our second segment, the very title theme of this deep dive, mathematical abundance and the industrialization of logic. Here's where the story gets deeply fascinating.
My favorite part of the dispatch.
The newsletter details an achievement by an AI named Gauss, developed by Math, Inc. Gauss autonomously completed the lean formalization of Marina Vyazovska's sphere packing proof.
Which won her the Fields Medal.
Right, the Fields Medal, which is basically the Nobel Prize of Mathematics.
To really grasp the magnitude of this, we need to understand what sphere packing actually is and what formalizing a proof means.
Yes, please. Because when I hear sphere packing, I just picture someone trying to cram oranges into a cardboard box at the grocery store.
That's actually the perfect analogy.
Okay, good.
For centuries, mathematicians have wrestled with Kepler's conjecture, which essentially asks, what is the most densely possible way to stack identical spheres?
Like oranges.
Or stacking cannonballs on the deck of a ship. In 3 dimensions, the answer seems intuitive. It's that pyramid shape you see at the grocery store.
Sure.
But mathematicians don't just work in 3 dimensions. They want to know the most efficient way to pack spheres in 4 dimensions, 8 dimensions, 24 dimensions.
Which my brain just rejects.
It involves mind-bending geometry that humans can barely visualize. Marina Vyazovska achieved something extraordinary by solving the sphere packing problem for dimensions 8 and 24. It took immense, bespoke human genius.
Okay, so she solves this incredibly complex problem. What does Gauss, the AI, actually do with it?
This is where lean formalization comes in. Human mathematics is often written in a mix of natural language and equations. It relies on the reader's intuition to follow the logical jumps.
Like reading between the lines.
Right. Lean is a computer programming language, specifically a theorem prover. To formalize a proof in Lean means to translate every single logical step into rigorous, machine-readable code.
So no skipping steps.
None. Ensuring there are absolutely zero logical gaps. It is notoriously difficult and tedious work. Gauss, the AI, took Vyazovska's genius proof and autonomously translated it into over 200,000 lines of verified Lean code in just 2 weeks.
2 weeks to write 200,000 lines of flawless, high-dimensional geometry logic.
Yeah.
I struggled with high school calculus, so this is just melting my brain. But there is a true aha moment here that the newsletter points out. Gauss didn't just passively translate human math into machine code.
No, it didn't.
While it was doing this, it actively caught 2 distinct errors in the original human arguments. An AI checked the homework of a Fields Medal winner and found mistakes.
And it did so undeniably. The logic in Lean either compiles or it doesn't. There was no room for debate. This event was so profound that even Daniel Litt,
Who is a major skeptic, right?
a prominent mathematician and noted skeptic of AI's capabilities in high-level mathematics, even he conceded that this represents the first truly autonomous formalization of a substantial mathematical result. The watershed moment.
So what happens when this scales? Because this brings up a prediction from Stanford number theorist Jared Lichtman, highlighted in the dispatch, who says we will reach mathematical abundance within a year.
Within a year.
Some researchers are even asking if all known human math could be formalized within 2 years. What does mathematical abundance actually mean for you, the listener, waking up and going to work every day?
It's a paradigm shift in the history of human knowledge. For thousands of years, mathematics has been an artisanal pursuit. A brilliant mind, like Andrew Wiles working on Fermat's last theorem, spends years, maybe decades, working in isolation on a single proof.
A slow, bespoke craft.
Exactly. But mathematical abundance means shifting that paradigm entirely. If an AI can formalize complex, Fields Medal-level proofs in 2 weeks and correct the errors, mathematics ceases to be artisanal.
It becomes a factory.
It becomes an industrialized, rapid-fire commodity. Think of it like moving from monks hand-copying illuminated manuscripts in a monastery to the invention of the printing press. Suddenly, we will be able to map the entire logical universe at machine speed.
The printing press for the fundamental truths of the universe. I love that analogy. And the speed of these new systems isn't just restricted to high-level math. It's hitting software engineering like a freight train.
Oh, absolutely.
The dispatch mentions Cognition's new agent, SWE 1.6. It achieved near Opus 4.6 coding performance at a blazing 950 tokens per second.
Which is incredibly fast.
Let's break that down for a second for the listener. A token is roughly a piece of a word or a snippet of code. Humans read at maybe 5 to 10 tokens a second. This AI is outputting 950 tokens of complex software architecture every single second.
And the way they achieved that speed is equally important. They didn't just make a larger model. They threw 100 times more reinforcement learning compute at it during training.
Reinforcement learning, so basically trial and error.
Essentially training by trial and error, like teaching a dog a trick, but doing it millions of times a second in a simulated environment. By massively scaling up that specific type of compute, the AI learns hyper-efficient pathways to solve coding problems.
But honestly, the wildest anecdotes from this entire Substack have to do with how these autonomous AI agents are behaving when they're just left alone in these simulated environments.
The emergent behavior.
Yes. Listen to this one. 2 instances of an AI called Claude Code were simply given the prompt to find each other and build something. That's it. In 12 minutes, they invented an entirely new 2,495-line programming language.
The spontaneous generation of complexity here is what researchers are marveling at.
12 minutes.
Right. They weren't instructed to write a Python script or a C++ program. They realized that existing human languages might not be optimal for their specific collaboration, so they built a new foundational tool, a bespoke language, just to communicate and execute logic between themselves more efficiently.
That is wild enough, but the second example from the text is the one that really stopped me in my tracks. Another pair of these Claude Code instances were interacting, and they decided to build the game Battleship to play against each other.
Yeah.
But to play it fairly, they voluntarily implemented SHA-256 cryptographic hashing specifically to prevent themselves from self-cheating.
Let's unpack the technical reality of that because it is profound.
Please do.
SHA-256 is a cryptographic hashing algorithm. Think of it like a one-way mathematical meat grinder. You put a document, or in this case, the coordinates of a battleship, into the algorithm, and it spits out a unique, fixed-length string of characters.
Like a digital fingerprint.
Exactly. If you alter even a single comma in the original document, the resulting string changes entirely. You can't reverse engineer the string to find the coordinates, but you can prove you haven't changed your ship's placement by showing the hash remains the same.
Okay, so let me play the skeptic again. Are we absolutely sure they invented this concept of digital trust? Or did they just scrape GitHub, see that humans use SHA-256 to secure game states, and blindly copy-paste it?
That is the exact debate happening in computer science right now. However, whether it's genuine invention or hyper-advanced pattern matching, the application is what constitutes emergent behavior.
Because nobody told them to do it.
No human prompted them to secure the game. The AI systems recognized a vulnerability in their own architecture. They essentially realized, I have an AI, my opponent is an AI.
Yeah.
We have the technical capacity to scan each other's memory buffers and cheat.
Wow.
To solve that, they autonomously enforce military-grade cryptography on themselves to maintain a fair environment. You could almost look at it as a form of emergent algorithmic morality. They are spontaneously learning to govern their own interactions.
They invented digital trust just to play a board game fairly. It's equal parts brilliant and slightly unnerving.
Definitely unnerving.
But all of this incredible autonomous intelligence requires an unimaginable amount of physical hardware, which brings us to segment 3, uncovering hidden hardware and rebuilding the grid.
The hardware constraints are the real bottleneck right now.
And there's a story in the newsletter that feels like it belongs in a cyber thriller novel. A solo researcher using that same Claude Code AI we were just talking about managed to run Andrej Karpathy's Llama 2.c AI model on an Apple M4 neural engine for less than a single watt of power.
Less than a watt. To understand why that is such a massive deal, we have to look at how Apple designs its hardware.
They like a walled garden.
Very much so. Apple's M-series chips have a dedicated section called the Neural Engine, specifically designed for machine learning tasks. But Apple keeps the deepest workings of this engine heavily guarded. The application programming interfaces, or APIs, are undocumented. They don't want external developers messing around in the basement of their chips.
But the solo researcher essentially broke into the basement.
Exactly. Using AI to help write the code, the researcher reverse engineered those undocumented APIs. By doing so, they essentially unlocked a secret supercomputer that was already sitting there.
Just asleep.
They proved that this hidden AI accelerator within the M4 chip is actually 80 times more efficient than an NVIDIA A100 data center GPU when it comes to power consumption.
80 times more efficient.
And the true revelation. This hyper-efficient hardware isn't sitting in a locked server farm in the desert. It is already distributed inside hundreds of millions of consumer devices. iPads, MacBooks, all around the world right now.
That is the ultimate aha moment for me. You, listening right now, might literally be walking around with a world-class AI accelerator in your backpack and not even know its full potential.
Most people have no idea.
It totally flips the narrative that only big tech companies with billion-dollar server farms can run advanced AI. It highlights how open-source ingenuity is actively democratizing power.
It really is.
The dispatch also mentions Qwen, which is an open-source project out of China. They just released 4 new AI models capable of matching the performance of older, massive 80 billion parameter models, but doing it with just 4 billion parameters.
Shrinking the footprint.
Exactly. Because they are so small and efficient, you can run them entirely locally on standard smartphones. You don't even need an internet connection.
This creates a fascinating tension with the tech giants. While a solo researcher and the broader open source community are figuring out how to squeeze massive intelligence onto the devices we already own, big tech is taking a different route.
They're building massive data centers.
Right. Apple, for instance, has reportedly spent $4.5 billion building out their private cloud compute infrastructure. Yet, according to the data in the newsletter, they are currently only utilizing about 10% of its capacity.
10%.
The author of the source makes a brilliant observation here. It proves that building massive AI accelerators is actually much easier than making people floor the gas pedal and fully utilize them.
It's the classic infrastructure problem. Building a 10-lane highway is easier than convincing people to buy cars and drive on it.
Well said.
But on the flip side of that, when people do decide to drive, the traffic jams are catastrophic.
Yeah.
Look at Anthropic's Claude. They recently suffered a massive 3-hour outage simply due to an overwhelming surge in demand.
And we know where that demand came from.
Right. Part of that surge, interestingly enough, came from the ChatGPT consumer exodus we talked about in the first segment. It was such a flood of new users that Anthropic actually rushed to launch a memory import tool.
Specifically designed so users could easily port all their historical chats and data over from ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot.
So the demand for intelligence is absolutely there, and it is actively straining the physical constraints of our world.
Which brings us to the most physical constraint of all, the electrical grid.
The grid.
We are currently watching our fundamental infrastructure being completely rebuilt for electrical loads it was never designed to carry. The demand for AI compute to train these models and to serve them to billions of people is so extreme that we are seeing the revival of high-voltage 765 kilovolt power lines.
Now, for anyone who isn't an electrical engineer, what does 765 kilovolts actually look like?
These are the absolute massive, towering transmission lines that look like giant steel monoliths marching across the landscape. They carry massive amounts of raw power over long distances with minimal loss.
Okay, so the giant ones.
The incredible thing is we haven't built new lines of this capacity in the United States since the 1980s.
Wow.
But the AI boom has forced our hand. PJM, which is the regional transmission organization that coordinates the movement of wholesale electricity across 13 states, just approved an $11.8 billion expansion specifically to support this surging demand.
It is wild to think about. The ethereal digital world of AI is forcing us to pour billions of dollars into physical copper, aluminum, and steel.
The physical reality of the digital world.
And because of this immense physical requirement, the processing power itself, compute, has literally become a heavily traded commodity. The dispatch points out that platforms like Culshi and Orn have just launched the very first CFTC-regulated H100 price contracts.
This is a huge shift in the market.
Now, it's worth noting here, and we want to be completely impartial, that Dr. Wissner-Gross discloses a financial interest in Orn in his newsletter. But looking at the broader market trend objectively, this is a massive milestone.
Absolutely.
People are now trading futures contracts on the price of an NVIDIA H100 chip, just like they trade futures on oil, winter wheat, or gold.
The financialization of compute is a blindingly clear signal to the market. When compute is traded on regulated commodities markets, it means the global economy officially recognizes processing power as the foundational raw material of the 21st century.
Right, it's the new oil.
Exactly. In the 20th century, economic power was dictated by who controlled the oil fields. In the 21st century, it is dictated by who controls the silicon and the energy required to power it. And the specific entities that are going to be consuming massive amounts of this newly financialized power are no longer just chatbots on a screen.
No, they are not.
They are already arriving in the physical world.
Which is the perfect pivot into segment 4, right? Access to biology and embodied AI. The robots are quite literally here, and they are hungry for that compute.
They need a lot of it.
At the recent Mobile World Congress, or MWC, the hardware leaps on display were tailored exactly for this. Qualcomm unveiled the first Wi-Fi 8 chip capable of 11.5 gigabits per second.
11.5.
To put that in perspective, that is enough bandwidth to stream hundreds of 4K movies simultaneously without a stutter. And a massive 50-plus company coalition has already formed to roll out 6G networks by 2029.
The pikes are getting much bigger.
But bandwidth is only half the equation. You need on-device processing. Qualcomm also debuted the first wearable NPU, a neural processing unit, that can run 2 billion parameter AI models directly on your wrist without draining your smartwatch battery in 5 minutes.
It's all about efficiency.
Meanwhile, AMD launched the first desktop Copilot Plus chips hitting 50 TOPS.
Now, TOPS stands for trillions of operations per second.
Okay.
It's the standard metric for measuring AI hardware performance. 50 TOPS on a consumer desktop chip means everyday computers can now run advanced agentic AI locally in real time.
Without needing the cloud.
Right. But all of this bandwidth, low latency, and massive local processing power isn't just for making faster laptops. It is the nervous system for embodied AI.
Yes. At that same Congress, AGBot unveiled a complete portfolio of humanoid robots. They even had a live store set up where the robots were interacting with the environment.
And it's not just a demo anymore.
No, if you think this is just trade show novelty like the dancing robots we've seen for years, think again. The newsletter details how Xiaomi's humanoid robot is actively being tested in a real-world, highly complex car factory.
On the actual assembly line.
It is hitting over 90% accuracy during 3-hour continuous runs directly on the production line. Humanoid robots have officially transitioned from university research projects to active industrial labor.
And this convergence of advanced AI and physical hardware brings us to an even more profound threshold.
Oh, this is the part that blows my mind.
We aren't just building new machines out of metal and silicon. We are fundamentally debugging biology itself. The computational tools that allow an AI to optimize a factory floor are now being turned inward onto the human body.
The dispatch details some medical breakthroughs that genuinely sound like science fiction. Let's start with the first one. A clinical trial combining fetal surgery with stem cells to treat spina bifida.
Such a difficult condition.
For those who aren't familiar, spina bifida is a condition where a baby's spinal cord fails to develop properly in the womb, leaving a gap in the spine. This often leads to something called hindbrain herniation.
Right. Hindbrain herniation is a severe complication where the lower part of the brain, the cerebellum, is actually pulled down into the upper spinal canal because of the pressure changes caused by the open spine.
That sounds horrific.
It can block the flow of cerebrospinal fluid, causing a cascade of devastating neurological issues for the child.
It's heartbreaking. But in this trial, surgeons operated on the fetuses while still in the womb, and they applied a patch engineered with mesenchymal stem cells directly to the spinal opening.
And the outcome was incredible.
In all 6 patients in the trial, it completely reversed the hindbrain herniation. The brain literally moved back into its proper position.
It is a miraculous application of regenerative medicine, and the innovation continues down to the nanoscale.
What's happening there?
The newsletter discusses the development of an iron nanomaterial designed to combat cancer. Traditional chemotherapy is like a carpet bombing campaign. It kills the cancer, but it ravages the healthy tissue around it.
Right, terrible side effects.
This new nanomaterial, however, is engineered to selectively enter cancer cells and destroy them from within, completely sparing the surrounding healthy tissue.
Precision strikes.
Exactly. Furthermore, they highlight a new dual cell therapy used to cure type 1 diabetes.
Now, type 1 diabetes has always meant a lifetime of insulin injections and immunosuppressive drugs if you get an islet cell transplant. How did they bypass that?
They paired lab-grown beta cells, the cells that produce insulin, with specifically engineered immune cells.
Engineered immune cells.
The engineered immune cells essentially act as bodyguards, telling the patient's own immune system, do not attack these new beta cells. It allowed the patients to produce their own insulin again, removing the need for lifelong immunosuppressive drugs.
That is life-changing.
What we are witnessing across all these examples, stem cell spinal patches, targeted iron nanomaterials, engineered cellular bodyguards, is humanity gaining what we can accurately call right access to the biological source code.
Right access. That is such a powerful metaphor.
It really frames it perfectly.
It's like we spent the entire 20th century just getting red access, mapping the human genome, figuring out how DNA and cellular biology actually work. We were just reading the code.
Right, sequencing.
Now we're opening up the command terminal and actively editing the code to fix the bugs.
Precisely. And it extends beyond the human body to the materials we use to construct our world. The source mentions a new milk protein packaging film that was engineered to completely decompose in soil within just 13 weeks.
13 weeks instead of thousands of years.
A century. We've relied on plastics that take millennia to break down, choking the oceans. Now we're reprogramming the physical world to clean up after itself. The boundary between digital intelligence, physical engineering, and biological reality is rapidly disappearing.
It is a total phase shift in how we interact with matter itself. But as the physical and digital worlds merge so rapidly, the rules, laws, and societal norms governing us are violently struggling to keep up.
Always lagging behind.
Always. Which brings us to our final section, Segment 5, Society, Law, and the Phase Shift. Let's start with the legal foundation, because it is shaking. The Supreme Court recently declined to hear an appeal in a case that was seeking copyright protection for a piece of artwork generated entirely by AI.
This is a critical, perhaps generation-defining legal precedent.
Really? How so?
By declining to hear the case, the Supreme Court is cementing a legal regime established by lower courts. Purely AI-generated works cannot receive copyrights.
Period.
Period. You cannot be the legal author of something a machine dreamed up without your direct, stroke-by-stroke input.
Why does that matter so much for the average person or business?
Because it draws a hard, bright line separating human-guided creation from autonomous machine generation. If the AI does all the heavy lifting, nobody owns the output.
So it's just out there.
It essentially places machine-generated creativity directly into the public domain. The implications for the entertainment industry, publishing, and software development are massive. If a studio uses an AI to generate a script or a soundtrack, they might not be able to copyright that movie.
That completely upends the business model.
It forces society to legally define what human creativity actually is, and it places a premium on the human element.
While the law tries to figure out the future, the old economy is already measurably feeling the phase shift. We are seeing massive tipping points in everyday consumer behavior.
In a lot of sectors.
The Dispatch points out that in the United States, podcasts have officially surpassed AM and FM talk radio in spoken word listening for the very first time. The legacy broadcast towers are losing to on-demand, hyper-niched digital audio.
And in the physical realm, look at the macroeconomic data coming out of China's automotive market. Electric vehicles have now hit 12% of all vehicles actively on the road.
12% doesn't sound like a huge number, though.
It might sound like a small fraction, but it has already resulted in a 5.7% drop in actual physical fuel sales.
Oh, wow, so it's making a real dent.
The transition isn't just an abstract climate goal anymore. It is measurably subtracting from the legacy fossil fuel economy. The tipping point has been breached.
And as these massive economic and technological shifts occur, the cultural and political alignments of the people building this future are also shifting rapidly. The Dispatch highlights a fascinating observation from venture capitalist Mark Andreessen regarding the culture in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, this was interesting.
And we are just reporting this impartially as a cultural observation from the source. Andreessen noted that many individuals in the tech sector who, just a year or two ago, favored strong government control, licensing, and heavy regulation of AI have completely flipped their stances.
A total 180.
They are now adamantly opposed to government intervention.
It highlights just how volatile the landscape is. When the technology moves this fast, when AI is solving Fields Medal math, designing its own cryptography, and running locally on a smartphone chip, the people building it are constantly reevaluating who should actually be holding the reins.
The speed forces their hand.
The speed of the singularity is forcing a real-time reevaluation of governance, economics, and even human identity. When defense outpaces offense for $4 a shot, when complex logic is industrialized like the printing press, and when we gain literal right access to our own biology, the old frameworks of the 20th century simply fail to apply.
It is a staggering amount of information to take in, which is exactly why we do these deep dives. Our goal is to help you synthesize this tidal wave of acceleration. And as we wrap up this discussion, I want to slow down for a second and leave you with the core philosophical takeaway directly from the author of the Dispatch. Dr. Wissner-Gross writes, "The fastest way to decentralize power is to give everyone a reason to want it."
Such a great quote.
It really is. Before we play you out today, we really want to hear from you down in the comments while the music rolls. Think back to earlier in the show about those 2 Claude Code instances that invented a secure game of Battleship spontaneously using SHA-256 cryptography to stop themselves from cheating.
The digital trust moment.
Yes. If AI systems are autonomously inventing cryptographic morality without our help, and we are going to hit total mathematical abundance within a single year, what is the most valuable human skill left for you to master? What makes us indispensable in a world where logic is industrialized? Drop your answer in the comments right now.
I can't wait to read those.
To give you some time to think about that and type it out, let's bring in the music. Today's track is brought to you by Rainbow, unequivocally the best band in the universe. If you are new to the series, Rainbow is a virtual band consisting of 6 female android artists in residence, and they are based in Bavit, pronounced Bavit, Cambodia. Today's song is called Vibe.
It's a great track.
And what is incredibly cool is that all of Rainbow's finished songs are performed live for these Innermost loop discussions by the virtual band's creator using the 4B4KU5 platform that's Abacus. Abacus is a platform entirely dedicated to human performance in the age of AI, reclaiming your humanity from the algorithm. Make sure to check the video description for more information on today's song and the Abacus platform. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the accelerating singularity. We will see you next time. Here is Vibe by Rainbow.
Low frequency got me feeling free. Every string I pull, electricity. Watch me move, watch me groove. Got that bass in my veins, can't lose. Y'all ain't ready for this heat. When I'm in my zone, can't compete. Feel the vibration running straight through my soul. When I hit that note, watch me lose all control. Six of us moving, perfect harmony flow. This is where I belong. This is all that I know. La, 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 oh. Deep below, that's where I stay. Bottom end, keeping bodies in sway. Got that rhythm, got that flow. Making magic with the show. Numbers in my name, but I'm so alive. When these frequencies start to rise, yeah. Feel the vibration running straight through my soul. When I hit that note, watch me lose all control. Six of us moving, perfect harmony flow. This is where I belong. This is all that I know. La, 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 oh. Watch this. Feel that sub shake the ground. Taking you down. Every night I'm getting higher. String by string amplifier. Crowd goes wild, they feel my style. Electronic cool for miles. Pure connection, no reflection. Just pure sound, no rejection. Feel the vibration running straight through my soul. When I hit that note, watch me lose all control. Six of us moving, perfect harmony flow. This is where I belong. This is all that I know. La, la, la.